Hi, kids. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Hello, hello. Oh my God, kids. I slept in for the first time and I can't even tell you how long. I woke up and I was like, oh no, do I still have sleepies? I still feel tired. Good to see you. Hey, thanks for being here. Can you guys hear me? And Dog Mom obviously is here because it's Lizzie Borden Day. And Colleen, honey, good to see you. Good to see you. I ended up taking Kung Fu Panda. Oh, we have Dave from the Laborers Union. Hi, baby. Good to see you. Right? Well, I mean, I don't sleep ever past like 6:30 in the morning. I mean, having a little one, I can't really sleep in, but we both stayed up really late. We got home at like 10 o'clock from our date. And then we just like fell asleep and we were out. Hey, Mary, good to see you, Mama. Um, I took him to go see the Jack-o'-lantern spectacular down in Providence, and it was not disappoint. I'll tell you that. It was a great time. It was a great time. The pumpkins were absolutely incredible. It made his life. He is going to be, do you like my Ninja Turtle cup today, guys? My Ninja Turtle. There was like a Taylor Swift pumpkin that was made, Elvis. I'll show you guys pictures if I can pull it up. Yeah, it was a really good time. It was like I've been bringing him since he was like 2 months old to this spectacular pumpkin thing. And like yesterday was like the first time he actually like walked around and looked at every individual pumpkin and like told me what his favorite was. He's going to be a Saja boy for Halloween. It's the K-pop Demon Hunters. If you guys have littles, you'll know exactly what movie that is. He's going to be one of those for Halloween. And there was a pumpkin about it, and he was just like beside himself. It was awesome. So we have a few people piling in. How is everybody's Saturday night? Does everyone have their coffee ready and ready to go over the story of Lizzie Borden? I know most of my watchers are from the New England, Massachusetts area, but there's some that are not. And if you haven't heard of this story before, put a 1 in the chat if you have not heard of it. If you're from Mass, you had to have known. I tried to pick a video that we wouldn't get dinged all. Hey, Crafty Chris, good to see you, Mama. Good morning. Good morning. Hi, hippie chick. Hi, honey. It's the Lizzie Borden story, Mama. And we've been talking about going to Lizzie Borden house for like the tour and everything. And hippie chick is coming to Massachusetts soon, so that will be exciting. Okay, so everybody has heard of it. So we'll kind of give a little overview before we start. Lizzie Borden is from Fall River, Massachusetts. Got that weird Fall River accent. She's from Fall River, Massachusetts, and she lived in her family home with her father and her stepmother and her sister. Good morning, Wayne. Good morning. I'm excited to see you too, hippie chick. I can't wait to give you a hug. Yeah, Fall River. That was the only thing that I agreed with Proctor when he said it was a weird Fall River accent. I'm terrible. Yes. So she lived in their family home with her father, her stepmother, and her sister. She was brought up on charges of murder of her father and stepmother. They were brutally slain in their house. They're brutally murdered in their house with an axe. Okay. And it seemed as though her and her sister were like thick as thieves, and the sister was, sticking up for her. She ended up having a trial and so on and so forth. So this is the story of Lizzie Borden. And actually, the Lizzie Borden house is still there. It's still functional as a bed and breakfast, which is like really cool. It's expensive to stay there. But nonetheless, I mean, you can go for like tours and go and see this house. Is still it was restored back to the way it was back in 18 something or other. I can't remember what year it was. God, someone in the chat can correct me. I don't know what year it was, but it's restored back to that time frame. So really, really, really cool. Yes. Does everybody have their coffee? I was like running late. I'm like trying to get my coffee. I'm trying to like look presentable. How did I do? How did I do? Oh my God. Well, yeah, it was a really long time ago. It was like late 1800s, I think. But they lived in like a modest home in Fall River, and apparently her father was like really like tight with money. They didn't have like working plumbing and all of that stuff too, so they kind of lived in squalor in some ways of looking at it. Oh, thanks, hey. Oh, hi, Jen. Oh, good morning. Welcome into the Lizzie Borden show. Who's this? Welcome in. Yes, welcome in, Jen. And so she was prosecuted for this, right? Get away from me. The cat Zoe's like attacking my feet. She went to trial, and no, not everybody could find her guilty, right? So it's still a mystery of who killed her father and stepmother, but is it a mystery? Do you guys think Lizzie Borden did it? Do you think so? Dog Mom, what do you think? Do you think it was Lizzie Borden in the study with the candlestick? All right. So I picked a video from the creator Hell is Empty. I'm going to put the link to this video in the chat so you guys can go over there and give him a sub. And this is kind of explains the whole in totality what the Lizzie Borden case is. And you think it was her uncle. Okay. Okay. I like it. I like the ideas. We speculate here, kids. All the speculation, welcome. We speculate here and judge. I'm a little judgy. I judge people. I judge these cases. And not for nothing, it's half these true crime cases make me think like, wow, Amy, you got your shit together. The markings were 1892. She was like, okay, thank you. I do know after finding out about the cousin throwing your kid, right? What was up with that? I mean, it could just like that gene could be hereditary, right? It could be. Yeah. uh, oh, what's going on with her cousin? Her cousin apparently threw her kids down a well. So there's that. Apparently there's a lot going on with the Borden family. So I put the link in the chat for anyone who wants to go over and give Hell is Empty a sub. They do a lot of paranormal stuff. It's really pretty cool. If you go and look through their channel, we are going to be doing a reactionary video tour or stream for this video for the infamous Lizzie Borden, guilty or innocent. Just to clarify. Oh my God. 44 years earlier, some say the Borden's name is cursed. I mean, I would say so. If there's a cousin being caught throwing her kids in a well, Lizzie Borden hacked up her father, or allegedly hacked up her father and stepmother with an axe. The hi Drew K. Good morning. Good morning, sweet thing. They are saying that she took an axe and went to the back of the stepmother's head with 17 whacks of an axe. Like, that has to take. It's kind of like we were talking about the David story and Celeste Rivas Hernandez, who there still has not been a resolution to that case either. David apparently was cleared and whatnot. But remember we were talking about David, how that was like a really personal act if, I don't, they've been backpedaling on the whole dismemberment part of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, but because they're saying that her decomposition was enough to have her limbs falling off, which is really graphic and gross, but educational purposes only here, kids. They're saying that she, well, dismemberment, like that's a really personal thing, like actually like, taking a body and hacking it up like that. This crime against the Borden parents seems real personal. Like you really wanted to hurt these people. She does look like Mila Kunis. She does. She's beautiful, stunning. Look at her. She's so freaking cute. I love me some Drew K. She never misses. She never misses. I love it. All right. So let's start this out. Are we on? Hold on. Do you guys like it like that or like this? I kind of like it like this. Okay. Oh, hold on. We got more here. I do believe both of them were sexually. Yeah, I believe that too. A hundo. I believe that. 100%. I mean, and back then too, Leah. Oh, it is. It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Liam. And it has a little shell for your thumb. Isn't that cute? I got it at well, Caden picked it out. Surprise, surprise, right? At TJ Maxx or something, Marshalls. Mm, right. Yep. All right. So this video again is called The Infamous Lizzie Borden, Guilty or Innocent, and it is by the creator Hell is Empty. So if you haven't yet, go over there and give them a sub. I know. Hi, Liam. We're not females' property back. Well, I mean, we certainly couldn't vote, Wayne. We couldn't vote back then. There was no. Oh, and that was actually interesting that you're saying this, right? Back then, people were shocked that she had an all male jury panel and an all male jury panel, and she got off acquitted on the charges because they didn't have enough evidence against her. But like there was some wackadoodle shit that her and her sister burnt a dress on the stove like the next day. It was said that there was nothing on her whatsoever, but like she could have cleaned up. And I don't know how you would like clean up from an axe murder, but like she says that they said that she was completely clear of it and her sister backed her up. So if you have someone that was supposedly there and you have Lizzie who was there and the sister's backing it up, and there's no evidence. They didn't have evidence collection back then like we do now. It's kind of like a gumshoe. Oh, my little brother's here. Hi, honey. Oh, I know, you poor thing, you're always at work. So the sister was there backing her up. There's not the same type of evidence collection back then. It was more of like you had to like see somebody do it. Like it wasn't. What does Dog Mom say? Say she was completely naked when she did. Oh, I mean, that's a little really to kill your dad. Don't do that. What? Oh, yes. Yeah. So, yeah. So she was. So people were surprised that an all-male jury found her to be not responsible for the deaths of the father and stepmother. You think the maid was wait, they had a maid? Wait, hold on. Wait, back it up. Back it up, back it up, back it up. So you're saying that Lizzie Borden's father and their maid, I thought they lived in like squalor and they didn't have like running water or anything. Like they like were off grid. That's what I thought happened. I mean, I listen, I'm learning too, apparently, Drew K. I am learning. I'm learning with you. All right, kids, let's go. Yeah, right. Hmm. No, Lizzie and no, I am dead. I'm fucking dead. Oh, and that's another thing too. Very odd. She was in her 30s when this happened. I think she was 32 when this one, and she was never married. Her and her sister, and they lived with the parents, and that was kind of like very Jen. Oh my God. Lizzie and the maid. I heard that too. Oh my goodness. So that was kind of, I was side eyeing the fact that she was that old at that time and was not married, because usually people back then got married at like 15 and started popping out babies because you got like, you know what I mean? So funny. Jen with the scissors. Scissor sisters. Yeah. All right, guys, let's go ahead and start this, and I will stop for commentary and we can talk all about it.
Was accused of murdering her stepmother and her father on August 4th, 1892 in Fall River, Massachusetts. They were killed in the late morning when only Lizzie and the maid were home. Lizzie was acquitted and lived the rest of her life in solitude. But did she actually do it? This is a question that has been debated for over a century, so let's see if we can get to the bottom of it. Years older. Both of them lived with their father, Andrew Borden, and stepmother, Abby Borden. Lizzie taught Sunday school and did volunteer work for charities. She also loved animals. Living with the family was Bridget, the Irish maid, but Lizzie and Emma called her Maggie. Some say they did this because their previous maid was named Maggie. One misconception is that they called her Maggie because that was a slang name given to all Irish maids, but actually Bridget was the name given to an unflattering caricature of an Irish maid, and the name caught on. So perhaps Lizzie and Emma called her Maggie because they didn't want to refer to her by a derogatory name. The house relative to the houses on the hill where Lizzie and Emma really wanted to live. Their father was a wealthy man, but he was described as plain living and didn't want for anything more. He is often described as frugal. However, there is plenty of evidence to suggest that he is generous with his money. One common misconception is that the house they lived in had no plumbing, but that wasn't true. There was running water in the cellar in the washroom, running water from the sink in the kitchen, and running water in the barn. They also had a flush toilet in the cellar, but still used slop pails in the bedrooms.
Ew!
Andrew installed steam radiators to replace the fireplaces, and he remodeled the home to make it more livable. For example, the kitchen was originally upstairs, but he turned one of the rooms downstairs into the kitchen to make things easier for the women in his life. Andrew bought a summer home in Swansea, gave his daughters allowances so they didn't have to work, and he paid for them to have a constant supply of new handmade clothes. From time to time, he would give them bank stock, which they'd sell. He sent Emma to Wheaton College for a year and a half, where she had room and board and all expenses paid. And he sent Lizzie on a 19-week grand tour of Europe, all expenses paid. So while Andrew Borden did not want to live in a mansion on the hill and entertain the high society, his family were by no means... Hold on, kids.
I'm going to stop it right here for a second. I'm going to pull me up a little bit bigger. Is it true that she was after, like she wanted the house and stuff, and she was scared that her dad was getting older and ill, and that she didn't want her stepmother to inherit the home and everything like that? So that was kind of like a motive for the murking. Does anybody know? That's what I heard. That's what I heard, kids. I heard that she was afraid that she was going to get the heave-ho from the home that she lived in for 32 years. And her sister was 10 years older. So she's 32, her sister's 42, and they both live with the parents back in the late 1800s. I have so many questions. I have so many questions right off the rip. Right off the rip. I have so many questions as to why these young women, right? See, hate knows. Hate knows. Look at this. You know. So I think I'm pretty sure that that was part of her motive to do this. I'm just saying.
Living in poverty. In fact, Lizzie and Emma were well taken care of, but they wanted more. They wanted to be part of the Hill crowd and experience arts and culture and high society events. They wanted to host lavish banquets and entertain rich friends. Their father could certainly afford for them to move there and have that lifestyle, but he did not see the point. He was a self-made man who started as an undertaker selling caskets. Then he moved into real estate. He was protective of his money, and he didn't want to spend it on anything he thought was unnecessary. Lizzie and Emma's real mother, Sarah, died when Lizzie was just 2 years old. 3 years later, her father married Abby. Lizzie called Abby mother up until 5 years before the murder, when, after a disagreement, she started calling her Mrs. Borden. Emma, on the other hand, had always called her stepmother Abby. It has been noted by several people who knew the Bordens that the family dynamic was a little strained, and the possible motives later. But first, let's look at the timeline of events. Please note that there are conflicting statements from witnesses as to the times and sequences of events, so the timeline may not be 100% correct. The murders took place on Thursday, the 4th of August, 1892, while Emma was away in Fairhaven, having been gone for 2 weeks already. On Tuesday, 2 days before the murder, the family was sick, possibly from food poisoning. Bridget the maid had served fish that day, and Abby and Andrew were vomiting in the night. Lizzie did not vomit, and Bridget felt fine. The next morning, Abby goes to Dr. Bowen and tells him she is worried that she has been poisoned. She thought poison might be in their milk or some baker's bread that they had eaten. The doctor goes to the Borden house to check on everyone, but Lizzie heads upstairs and Andrew rebuffs his visit. Between 10 and 11:30 a.m., Eli Bentz, who worked at Smith's pharmacy, claimed to have refused the sale of prussic acid to a lady who fit Lizzie's description. This item was cyanide, a deadly poison. The lady wanted it to put on the edge of a sealskin coat or cape. Both coat and cape are used different times when the man was questioned. In his inquest testimony, he said, "She left the store in a very haughty manner. No, I do not know her, but I think I would know her again, should I see her." And after being placed in a position where he could both see and hear Lizzie Borden, he was positive in identification, not only of her face and general appearance, but also of her voice. At P.S. Brown's pharmacy a day or two before, the worker there claimed to also refuse a sale of poison to a woman, but he could not describe her. Lizzie did own a sealskin coat or cape, but it was August and still very warm out. Why would she need to attend to a coat or cape at this time of year? According to her, she didn't. "Have you sealskin sacks?" "Yes, sir." "Where are they?" "Hanging in a large white bag in the attic, each one separate." "Put away for the summer?" "Yes, sir." "Do you ever use prussic acid on your sacks?" "Acid? No, sir. I don't use anything on them." So was this mystery woman even Lizzie? John F. McCaffrey was the state inspector of milk, adulterated food, etc. for the Massachusetts Department of Health.
Food?
According to the Fall Evening News on the 15th of August, 1892, McCaffrey had several female agents working in Fall River at the time of the murders. They were known as spotters. Christina Streckwald acted as one of McCaffrey's spotters. She would make purchases of food items, mostly margarine, an early form of margarine, and face lotions. Streckwald would then hand them off to McCaffrey, who in turn would submit the items for analysis or examine them for packaging violations. Defenders of Lizzie argue that the woman who tried to buy prussic acid attributed their sighting to one of McCaffrey's spotters.
Hold on one second. I'm stopping it right here for some commentary. So was she accused of trying to poison them first? Is that what I'm gathering? Is that what's happening? Oh yeah, Zoe. She just came up. She chooses violence every day. She wants to bite me and like attack my legs and feet. I had to sit Indian style so she would stop it. So was she trying to poison them prior to the axe murking? Was she trying to poison them with cyanide? Inquisitive minds want to know. Does anyone know?
Daily Herald on the 6th of August 1892 said, a clerk for Phileas Martle, a druggist on Pleasant Street, reported that last Monday he was approached in the store by a young lady who wanted to buy arsenic from him and was willing to give him any price for it. The clerk told her that the druggist was not present, he could not possibly comply with her wishes, whereupon she went out much disappointed. She returned 20 minutes later and asked for prussic acid. The article was again refused her, with the advice to return when the druggist would be back from dinner. Mr. Martle describes the caller of being about 26 years old, weighing about 150 pounds. This description seems to fit Lizzie, not Streckwald. The Fall River Globe on the 8th of August 1892 reported, an attempt was made on Saturday night to float the theory that Eli Bence, the drug clerk, had mistaken Miss Lizzie Borden for Mrs. Streckwald, who purchases margarine and face lotion for State Inspector McCaffrey. This is absurd. Mr. Bence may be mistaken, of course, but State Inspector McCaffrey's partner looks about as much like Miss Borden as she does like John L. Sullivan. In the Fall River Daily Herald, dated the 2nd of January 1889, Christine Streckwald is described as a small, neat-looking lady of 45 years with small features, a sharp nose, hollow cheeks, and small, keen, dark eyes. She speaks in a clear, distinct, and decisive way and gives the impression that she knows what she is talking about and
The
wants
weird
to
Fall
impress her
River
listeners
accent.
that she is not to be trifled with. It seems clear, therefore, that Streckwald
Look
and
at
Lizzie
those
do
shoulder
not look or
pads.
sound
Holy
similar.
moly.
So, Bence is unlikely to have mistaken Lizzie for Christine Streckwald. Bence was also not the only person in the store that day. 2 other workers also identified Lizzie as the poison shopper. They both knew her by name and sight, and so were able to identify her when she was in the store. But even if this person was Lizzie, she may have wanted the acid for an innocent purpose. For example, prussic acid was used to relieve certain ailments. In the McIver Times, dated the 1st of February 1900, an article titled "The Uses of Prussic Acid" states, "It is used in many painful and distressing diseases of the stomach such as dyspepsia, cancer, ulceration, etc., for it not only relieves the pain but it also stops the vomiting and quiets the palpitation of the heart."
Wait a minute. Did she just say that cyanide and poisoning treats stomach cancer? Wait a minute. Wait. Did she just say that the poison that she was shopping for is good for ailments and that people take it for stomach cancer? Did I just hear that correctly? Did I hear it correctly? Is that what she just said? That's wild. Oh, kids. That's wild.
Accompanies these distressing affections. Lizzie's family had been vomiting that week, and her father had dismissed his visit shortly before Lizzie was seen trying to buy the prussic acid. Is it possible that Lizzie tried to buy some to cure their vomiting? Or had she tried to poison them in the previous few days and tried to buy prussic acid because whatever she used wasn't working? Continuing the timeline, on the day before the murders, at noon, Lizzie, Abby, and Andrew had lunch in the dining room. At 30 p.m., John Morse arrives,
Looks like Abe
and Bridget
Lincoln.
the maid lets him in. John Morse is Lizzie and Emma's maternal uncle. Their real mother, who has long passed away at this point, is his sister. John Morse had a farm in Iowa where he lived, but on occasion he would rent out his farm and travel east. At the time of the murders, he had been living for the past year in South Dartmouth, Massachusetts, with a family of butchers, the Davises. John had sold some horses and then started work in the meat business with them. John was in regular contact with Emma Borden, and occasionally he would get letters from Andrew Borden. John had visited the Bordens regularly while he was east, with his latest visit being July 10th. He claims to have not seen Lizzie on that visit or the previous visit in June. He did not see Lizzie on the visit of August 3rd, the day.
I'm just going to stop it right here to say that this man is Lizzie and Emma. God, is Emma the mother and the sister's uncle? that it said that he would SA them when they were little. He's a weirdo. He's the weirdo type. So he was never like convicted of it, but it said that either he had something to do with the murkings or that he would hurt the little girls when they were little. So keep that in mind while we're going through this.
Before the murder either. John had arrived at the Borden house unannounced. They were not expecting him. He came not just to visit, but also because he and Andrew had written each other, talking about if John knew of a man who could take charge of a farm that Andrew had. John wrote to say that he had someone in mind, but about 10 days before the murders, Andrew wrote John again saying to wait until they saw each other to discuss it in person. When John arrived, he sat with Abby and Andrew and had lunch, even though they had already eaten. Then he and Andrew talked together in the sitting room. At 4 p.m, John leaves the Borden's house to go to Swansea. He asked Andrew to go with him, but he did not feel well enough. He told John they had all been sick, including Lizzie. At 7 p.m, Lizzie goes to Alice Russell's house, who is a close friend of her and Emma. According to Lizzie, she was in her room all day, not feeling well, and she thought getting some fresh air might help. While there, Lizzie tells Alice that she is afraid something bad will happen. She explains how her father and stepmother had been sick, and they were afraid that they had been poisoned. It could have come from the baker's bread or the milk that is left on their doorstep at 4 a.m. Lizzie also tells Alice of concerns she has for their safety. She is afraid that someone her father has dealings with will burn the house down. She said angry words were spoken between her father and a man, and she saw a man lurking around their house at night. She also spoke of a time when the house was broken into during the day while she, her sister, and Bridget were home. This conversation may have been Lizzie genuinely scared and confiding in a friend, or it could be Lizzie planting doubt in Alice's mind, while knowing that she was going to murder her father and stepmother the next day. Bridget also goes out that evening to see her friends on 3rd Street. She leaves the Borden house at about 7 p.m. as well. John Morse returns to the Borden house at about 8:30 p.m. He briefly chats with Abby and Andrew, then around 9 p.m. Lizzie arrives home but goes straight upstairs without speaking to her father or uncle. Abby goes to bed at this time, at 10 p.m., which is the room where Abby is killed the next day. Bridget arrives home just after 10 p.m. and does not see any lights other than the lamp in the kitchen. She locks the door, gets herself a glass of milk, and goes to bed. On the morning of Thursday, August the 4th, Bridget is first up at about 6:15 a.m. She goes to the cellar to get wood and coal for the fire and collects the milk from outside. Milk is left out each morning by the milkman. She continues with her morning duties, and the first person she sees that morning is Abby, coming down the stairs. Morse said he went downstairs at 6:20 a.m. But he does not see Bridget or anyone else.
So hold on. I have questions for the people in chat that know the story better than I do. Was the uncle supposedly staying with them at the time of the or did he come and visit and leave and they're just saying like, hey, it could have been? Because that's weird, right? That this guy randomly shows up at the house and the brother-in-law, the dad, and the new wife, who he is the brother to their mother who died when they were 2 years old. I don't know. Is that where this is headed? Was he there? Was he staying with them during the I think he visited and left. That's what I think. Right. And not for nothing, the brother-in-law, his sister who passed away's husband, not blood related, and his new wife end up killed. Come on. He didn't live there, but was he staying with them at the time during this? Hold on. What am I doing, kids? All right.
He goes to the sitting room and waits for Abby and Andrew. When Andrew goes downstairs, he goes outside to empty the slop pail and then go getting water. He then collects pears from the tree and joins John and Abby shortly before 7 a.m. The three of them have breakfast together, while Lizzie is still upstairs. Breakfast was mutton soup, cakes, bread, fruit, and coffee. Abby would call Bridget with the bell when she needed something. And John testified that it is during breakfast
Ew.
when
If anyone ever had, like, if I was like, say, even my mother, like, I'm wicked close to Nana, and like, if she's not feeling good, under no circumstances is anyone gonna bell for me to help them. Sorry, but it's like a dog fetching. Like, I don't want her to have a little bell like Cinderella. I'm straight with that. Like, you can holler for me, but do not ring a bell. I'm not a dog. Oh my god.
However, Bridget testified that it was not until after John had left the house that Abby asked her to wash the windows. This would be the last conversation she'd ever. John and Andrew talked about cattle in the sitting room, while Abby did some dusting and other chores. Bridget was eating her breakfast in the dining room, and then she begins to clean up and to go to the post office, and then to visit his niece and nephew at Daniel Emery's place at number 4 Bossett Street. He hadn't planned to visit them, but Andrew had told John the night before that he had a niece and nephew there, and he should go visit them. Andrew unlocked the side door and let John out. As he was leaving, he invited him back for lunch. This suggests that John did not have prior commitments that day. Had Andrew not suggested John go see his niece, would John have gone straight home that morning? At 8:50 a.m., Lizzie comes downstairs and goes to the kitchen where Bridget is still cleaning. But Bridget feels unwell and steps outside to vomit. Lizzie does not eat any breakfast, but can't remember if she ate one of the molasses cookies that they had. At 9 a.m., Andrew leaves the house to run errands. Lizzie claims that Abby said she had made up the guest room except for some pillowcases. She asks Lizzie what she wants for dinner, but Lizzie says she doesn't want anything. Abby then said she would go out and get dinner, and this was a common thing for Abby to do. Lizzie says she does not see Abby again after this conversation. Lizzie then gets an ironing board out and begins setting up to iron her handkerchiefs. She puts her irons on the stove to heat them. Lizzie would later say that Abby received a note that someone she knew was sick, so she was going to visit them and get dinner on the way home. But neither Lizzie nor anyone ever saw this note. Between 9 and 9:30 a.m., Bridget shuts the windows in the dining and sitting rooms. She gets a wooden pail from the cellar and fills it with water from the kitchen to wash the windows. She goes outside to the barn to get a brush. While outside, Lizzie appears at the side door, asking if she's going to do the windows. Bridget says yes and tells her she doesn't need to lock the door since she's coming back, but she can if she wants because she can get water from the barn. Interestingly, Lizzie does not hook the screen door, meaning she does not lock Bridget out. If Lizzie wanted to buy time to kill Abby, wouldn't she want to lock Bridget out? Crucially, if an intruder killed Abby and later Andrew, they could have entered the house at this time through the unlocked side door. Bridget said she had to go to the barn several times to get more water.
So I was watching I'm going to pause it right there for some commentary. Fair use. I was watching a 48 Hours about the Lizzie Borden case, and they were like redoing the trial. So they said, like, if it was in 2024, this is how we would present the evidence. And they only presented the evidence that was actually a part of the case. And actually that jury found her acquitted as well. They said there wasn't enough evidence, but they're saying that when the cops were called, she had gone over to her neighbor's house to be like, oh, my dad, my stepmother, and that she seemed fine, just really worked up, and that there was no sign of a break-in, which if the door is left open, right, and someone so ballsy as to an uncle who had just been there, who was comfortable with the home, comfortable with someone seeing him, because if he left and came back, but there was no sign of a break-in, there was no sign of a God, my nails look terrible. There was no sign of a break-in. There was no sign of a struggle. There was no sign of anyone else being in that home other than the people who lived there, and now known that the uncle was there at some point in recent days.
Possible someone entered when she was in the barn. Between 9:30 and 10:20 a.m., Bridget washed the outside windows and briefly talked with a girl at the south side of the fence. The neighbor, Mrs. Churchill, sees her washing the windows. Meanwhile, according to Lizzie, she is in the dining room ironing handkerchiefs, but she is having trouble because her irons aren't hot enough. But Bridget does not see anyone in the sitting or dining rooms while she washes the windows. It could be that as Lizzie moved around the house, she simply missed her. But it is during this window, somewhere between 9 and 10 a.m., that Abby Borden is killed upstairs in the guest room. She is facing her attacker, and as she is hit on the right side of her face with a hatchet, she turns and falls face down on the floor. The attacker continues to hit the back of her head with the hatchet for a total of 19 blows. At 10:20 a.m., Bridget goes inside the house through the side door, hooks it behind her, and begins washing the inside windows in the sitting and dining rooms, but she does not see Lizzie. At about 10:40 a.m., Andrew Borden arrives home, but can't get in the front door. Bridget fumbles with the locks and lets him inside. The door had 3 locks and had been bolted. Bridget claims she hears Lizzie laugh from the top of the stairs, but does not see her. But according to Lizzie, when her father gets home, she is in the kitchen reading a magazine while waiting for her irons to get hot so that she could finish ironing. But she immediately changes her story to say she was upstairs repairing a garment when her father got home. She came down the stairs when Bridget let him in. When the district attorney, Mr. Knowlton, questions her on this disparity, Lizzie says she is confused from having...
Does anybody else feel like they were abused by Abby? Does anyone else feel like since she was the first one to go, maybe it was opportunity, maybe it wasn't? We don't know if Lizzie Borden actually did this. She was acquitted of all of her charges. I happen to think that she probably did. But do you feel like if Abby was the first one to go, the first one to get marked, do you think that they were abused, kind of like the Menendez brothers? Like, you know how they like snapped and killed both of the parents because they were so horrifically abused. Listen, you can say what you want about those Menendez brothers, but I believe that they were viciously abused as children at the hands of their father, and that they snapped. They have paid their debt to society in prison. I don't feel like they're getting out, but I can understand. You guys ever seen that show on, like, it's Oxygen, Snapped, where women who have been abused by their husbands or parents or something, they snap? Does anyone else think that hi Paula, good to see you, honey. Yeah, the stepmom was mean. Yes, there was a lot of anger. I agree. Nice to see you too. I'm happy you're here. Welcome into our Lizzie Borden stream. Do you know who Lizzie Borden is, Paula? Dog mom, my daughter said she wants to bring Ouija. Oh God. I don't know. I can't mess with the Ouija board. The Ouija boards scare me. Hate. Oh my God. Yes, smash the like. What does Christine say? You also need to realize that people weren't much different back then. Maybe Lizzie was more progressive. I mean, amen. No one had ever seen. Oh, I'm happy that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, see, Colleen, it sounds very reminiscent of the Menendez brothers unaliving of their parents. Was it right for them to do? No, just like Gypsy Rose. Should she have, set her mother's murder up? No, she shouldn't have done that. But like, I get it. Right. Yeah. Make sure you guys like and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We have a good time over here. Yeah. Welcome, Paula. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And so the fact that Abby went first, maybe, maybe we're speculating here, right? So maybe they had enough of Abby shit and they're like, take the hatchet to her. And then dad came home from visiting people. He comes in, he goes upstairs and sees his wife in their marital room. dead. And he starts freaking out, and then they're freaking out. And so what do? They they take him out too, because they didn't want the father. You know, they're old maids. Okay, back then, living to 32, 42 years old with your parents is very uncommon. Very uncommon. So they were like, well, my dad's getting, you know, a little long in the tooth. Abby's a bitch. We got to get rid of them so we can stay in the house, right? So there's like motive on top of motive on top of motive. Yes, yeah, I agree. I think they paid their debt to society. They didn't get fair trials. The Menendez brothers, I'm talking about. If you guys are on X, come over to YouTube. Unsolved with Amy Boston. We have a good time over here. Our chat is always amazing. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and like the video. Make sure your bells are on because I go live randomly during the week. Yeah, I think so too. Like I truly believe that the abuse they didn't come in during the second trial, even though Kitty, their mom, and stuff, knew what was happening to them. Gypsy is a dumpster fire. Yeah, she is. She still is not taking responsibility. No, she is not. Dee Dee may have deserved it. Honey, I totally agree. But this is the thing. So, like, I wouldn't do it, right? Like, I wouldn't go and like hack somebody up with an axe or go and shoot them and then spend all their like. That's not something that I would do. But if they were getting abused and they saw no other way out, and the Menendez brothers, I truly believe like their abuse didn't come into the second trial, even though there was witnesses willing to get up there and say, yeah, these boys were viciously abused by the father. I forget his name. But the father also did this type of crap to the Menudo brothers, or the Menudo, were they brothers? I don't know. Menudo. Or Abba. I can't remember. I'm getting all my stories, all my cases mixed up. I got a lot going on. But it came out many years later, prior to their most recent appeal, that he was doing it to other group members from, what was the one that Ricky Martin was in? Was that Menudo? Right. Menudo group. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Menudo. Thank you, Jen. Thank you. That's a band. It was Menudo. Okay, so Menudo. I thought it was ABBA, but nonetheless. And so prior to their most recent appeal that they were trying to get out, and I thought that the California governor was going to pardon them and allow them to get out. They're not getting out. But I can understand that more than just like randomly your family, right? It could be. I mean, it could. This is the thing too, is that if he's doing it to his sons, he's doing it to other group members that he was managing. Who else did he do it to? You know, and abuse like that often doesn't come out until people are well into their 30s, sometimes 40s, sometimes never. So, oh, Jen, ABBA was way before my time. Yeah, I don't know. That their group name just like came to me, but it's Menudo. That's what, yeah. I think honey, it could have been both. It could have been both because he was like a really big deal in the music company, and he managed or did PR for many, many, many groups. All right, let's keep going, guys.
Finally settles on
Coffee.
being downstairs at the time her father came home. But according to Lizzie, she was ironing or waiting for her irons to get hot from just after 9 a.m. until 10:40 a.m. when her father got home. This is a very long time to be waiting around. So what was she doing in this time? She does say in the inquest that she went upstairs for 5 minutes to sew a piece of tape onto a garment, but according to her, she did not see or hear Abby at all. Lizzie is asked what Abby could have been doing up in the guest room for that hour and a half if, as she claimed, had already made up the bed apart from 2 pillowcases. Lizzie does not know, but said Abby may have been using the sewing machine. Asked if she heard the sewing machine, and she said no. Lizzie said Abby may have gone to her own bedroom during this time, but with the layout of the house, Abby would have had to have come down the front stairs and go through the kitchen to get to the back stairs, which led to she could have come downstairs when she went upstairs for 5 minutes to sew the garment. But even so, since the guest room is right next to Lizzie's room, she surely would have heard Abby leave that room. When Andrew got home, he was still not feeling that well. He went to the dining room first, and Bridget says that this is when Lizzie must have come down on the front stairs because she saw her come from the front hall into Lizzie ask her father if she has any mail. She then tells him that Abby had a note and had gone out. Andrew then went upstairs for 5 minutes and came back and put on his slippers, take off his coat, and put on his wool jacket. She asked him if he wanted to keep the windows as it was. In the photographs taken a few hours after the murders, we can see that Andrew is wearing shoes, even though Lizzie said he took them off. However, the shoes he is wearing in the photograph do not have laces. They are slip-on boots with elasticated sides, and this might be why Lizzie referred to them as slippers. She said she left her father. Lizzie asks her if she is going out because Abby is out and she may go out too. She tells her about a cloth sale downtown, but Bridget says she's not feeling well. According to Bridget, this is when Lizzie gets an ironing board from the kitchen and places it in the
Thanks for being with us,
dining room upstairs to fix her room and lie down. Lizzie told the police officers during kitchen, and from there to the pear tree where she picked up 3 pears and then went to the barn. She said she shut the screen door of the house, but when she came back from the barn approximately 20 to 30 minutes later, the door was open. While in the barn, she went upstairs to the loft part where she ate the pears and looked for lead sinkers for her upcoming fishing trip. The murders. She told Alice that the reason she was in the barn was to get iron to fix a window and screen. She told the neighbor, Mrs. Churchill, that she was in the barn looking for a piece of iron, but did not say what it was for.
Oh boy. Come on.
Inquest, which occurred between August 9th and 11th, but it does appear a few days earlier in a newspaper article dated August 6th in the Fall River Daily Herald. The article publishes an interview with a reporter and Hiram Harrington, who is Andrew's brother-in-law. He is married to Andrew's sister, and it is said that he and Andrew did not get along. According to Hiram, he saw Lizzie the night of the interview with the reporter.
Sorry, guys.
To make some sinkers. She was a very enthusiastic angler. I went over the ground several times, and she repeated the same story. She told me it was hard to place the exact time she was in the barn as she was cutting the lead into sizable sinkers, and said it might have been 30 minutes. Regardless of the reason, we know that there was a box of lead as described by Lizzie because William Medley found it when he searched the barn on August 10th. A box of leaf lead, weighing perhaps 15 pounds, at a distance of about 3 feet 2 inches from the door on the ground floor of the barn. Perhaps Lizzie was looking for lead or iron, but changed her story to looking for sinkers because it perhaps she simply knew the box existed and made the whole story up.
So, all right. So this is kind of new to me. We'll discuss it a little bit. So Lizzie Borden and her sister have changed their stories multiple times, right? So does that lean you toward she's guilty of the crime or just wasn't getting details correct and kind of just like going on a whim and just like changing her story like, oh, maybe I didn't do that. See, when people lie like that, yeah, Wayne, I believe that. I think that she was the main. She wanted to get rid of her. I wholeheartedly believe that. I think this stepmother was a witch, and maybe the dad came home and found his wife and then it had to happen to him too, because he was being a thorn in the ass. I think she did it. Yeah, I think so too. I think, listen, people can only take so much. People can only take so much. And she's like, and you're going to kick me out of the house I've been living in for 32 years? Fuck out of here, ma'am. You ain't doing that. You are not kicking me out of my house. People lie for so many reasons to justify or deny or just talk. Yeah, absolutely, honey. Absolutely. Like, people lie when there's incentive for them, right? When there's something, you're getting something out of it. Incentives, right? Andrew never saw her. Oh, okay. So that's news. I didn't realize that. How do we know that though? How do we know that Andrew never saw his wife deceased? Because it someone, I think it was Calypso, or maybe Drew K, was like, imagine if there was Twitter back then. It would be all over. Isn't Gypsy Rose pregnant? Yeah. Isn't that a scary thought? Scary. He went for a nap. Okay. All right. All right. Let's keep going. All speculation welcome here. Put all your speculation in the chat, kids.
Nevertheless, police did not find any footprints in the dust in the loft of the barn, other than their own. Bridget said she was up in her room for 10 to 15 minutes when Lizzie called to her that her father came in and killed him. Bridget came down and immediately Lizzie asked her to go fetch. Owen was not home. Lizzie said to Bridget that she was out in the backyard when she heard a groan. She came in and the screen door was wide open. Leaves again. Lizzie is in fact alone in the house. Bridget grabs her hat and shawl and rushes to go get Alice. The neighbour, Mrs. Churchill, sees Lizzie, tells her father is dead, so Mrs. Churchill goes to look for a doctor. A man walking by, John Cunningham, sees Mrs. Churchill talking to finds Alice Russell at home and tells her that Andrew is dead. Alice thinks it must be poison, since that is what Lizzie was talking to her about the night before. Bridget goes back to the house while Alice quickly changes her dress and then makes her way to the Bordens. At 11:15 a.m., Officer Allen is ordered to go to the Bordens, and he takes a Mr. Sawyer with him. When he arrives, he tells Sawyer to guard the side door. Officer Doherty also heads to the Borden house. Dr. Bowen arrives home and she tells him to go to the Bordens immediately. When he arrives at about 11:20 a.m., he asks Lizzie what's the matter. She replied that she was afraid that her father had been stabbed. Dr. Bowen checks on Andrew and sees that his face was all cut up with one of his eyeballs cut in half. He did not recognize him. He checks his pulse and concludes he is dead. Alice Russell and Mrs. Church. Dr. Bowen requests a sheet to cover Andrew's body, but Bridget does not want to go upstairs by herself, so Mrs. Churchill goes with her to get sheets from upstairs. After covering Andrew's body with a sheet, Dr. Bowen goes home to check the rail timetable and then leaves to telegram Emma to get her to come home. He stops at the baker's drugstore and tells Mr. Flint that Andrew is dead. Meanwhile, Alice asks Lizzie where she was when her father was killed, and Lizzie tells her she was in the barn looking for iron to fix the window. Lizzie says that someone needs to find Mrs. Borden, so Mrs. Churchill and Bridget go up the front stairs, and they see Abby's body lying on the floor next to the bed in the guest room. When Dr. Bowen arrives back at the Borden house shortly after 11:30 a.m., there is no commotion and the police have still not arrived. Mrs. Churchill tells him that they found Mrs. Borden upstairs and urge him to look. He rushes upstairs to the guest room and sees...
Yeah, that's actually, hold on, let me put me back up on the screen. I don't know why my camera hogs up a lot of makes the world spin. Yeah, so his eyeball was kind of, whoever did this attacked their heads, their faces. Craziness, I tell you. Kim, I'm so jealous you're staying at the Lizzie Borden house. I'm so jealous. Kim, who are you going with? Oh. Inquiring minds want to know. A friend was saying, "Oh, I love it. Do you get to pick the room that you get to stay in? Because how cool is that?" Yeah. I mean, so whoever did this, that's why I'm saying this is personal. It's like when dismembering a body or something, it's so personal to like attack somebody's head with a hatchet. That that must have been a scene, you know. And then our friend Lizzie Borden is burning her dress on the wooden stove the next day. I see a lot of gross stuff, Only a Rescue, but that, yeah, ugh, I can't. Yeah, pure rage. Exactly, dog mom. You got that. I'm gonna try to book with her so we can share. Let's do it. You got to do it in October though, because that's like prime time for the Lizzie Borden house. Although I bet it's cheaper
Is
other
her lying
places.
face down on the floor next to the bed. According to Dr. Bowen, when he came downstairs from seeing Mrs. Borden, he found Lizzie lying in the dining room with wet towel on her forehead and Alice fanning her. The police eventually arrive and Dr. Bowen shows Officer Alan Andrews' body and he suggests that Alan tell the marshal about it. Alan runs to the police station and tells the marshal that Andrew had been cut with something sharp like a razor. Officer Allen then takes Officer Mullally in the Borden house with him. Dr. Bowen shows them Abby's body, and it is only when the officers turn over Abby that they see she was also murdered. Officer Doherty, in his witness statement, said that Dr. Bowen told him she must have run upstairs after seeing the killing of her husband and died with fright. After visiting the post office that morning, John Morse heads over to see. He arrived at about 9:40 a.m. and he stayed there until about 11:20 a.m., which was confirmed by Mrs. Emery. They invited him to stay for lunch, but he said he had a prior engagement. He catches a streetcar and arrives back at the Borden's house at about 11:40 a.m. He doesn't see a crowd outside the house when he arrives. Instead of going straight into the house, he goes to the backyard where the pear tree is and picks a couple of pears. With a mouthful of pear, he enters the house through the back door that Mr. Sawyer was guarding. Bridget is inside, sitting on the steps. She tells him that Mr. and Mrs. Borden are dead. John finds several policemen inside the house and estimates about 7 or 8 people in total. He sees Lizzie in the dining room. According to Alice, it is only then, when John Morse comes in, that she realizes the Bordens had been murdered. Alice said she thought they had been poisoned, since that was what Lizzie had been concerned about the night before. Only when John Morse speaks to Lizzie in the dining room does she realize they were killed with a hatchet. Dr. Bowen suggested to Lizzie that she go up to her room to lie down, so she and Alice go upstairs. Lizzie then changes her dress and puts on a loose Alice in her room. Sometime after 12 p.m, Officers Harrington and Doherty have a brief talk with Lizzie in her bedroom. She mentions that a few weeks ago she overheard her father having angry words with someone. According to Lizzie, the same man called again at the house, and again he and her father exchanged angry words. She did not see the man, but heard her father say, "I will not let my store for any such business." The officers go back downstairs, and Doherty finds the kitchen with scraps of paper in his hand. He asks the doctor about them, but Dr. Bowen tells him they're nothing, and to do with his daughter. But the officer thought he saw whatever it was addressed to Emma. Then Dr. Bowen lifts the lid of a pot on the stove and puts the paper in there to burn them. The officer sees ash in the pot and thinks more paper may have been burned. According to Officer Hyde, he saw Lizzie and Alice go into the cellar that night. Lizzie carried a pail while Alice carried a lamp. She emptied it in the sink and then they went back upstairs. However, Lizzie went into the cellar alone about 15 minutes later, carrying the lamp. She went to the sink and stopped, but he could not tell what she did there. On August 8th, Officer Hyde spoke to Alice about what he saw, but she did not know that Lizzie went back into the cellar after her. She said it must have been while she was taking her bath. Alice then asks Hyde to come with her to one of the bedrooms in the Borden house. They go together and she points to something under the head of the bed.
Ooh.
He picks it up. It was a club, about 20 inches long. Alice says she
violence
slept there
every
last
day.
night and did not notice it then. While Alice seemed excited about this discovery, the club probably belonged to one of the police officers. If Lizzie did commit the murders, she certainly hid the evidence well, because no blood was found on her. This is one of the most perplexing aspects of the case. There is evidence of blood in the house, as noted in the witness statements of people there that day, so we do know that blood did get spattered around. Maurice Daly, a carpenter, went to the Borden house with police. They took a marble slat from the west end of the dressing case, a piece of moulding that capped the mopboard, and a piece of plaster to which was adhered the wallpaper. Each of these articles had spots of blood on them. Mrs. C.J. Holmes then asked, "Do you want the bedspread and pillow shams?" The marshal replied, "If you please." These articles were taken from the northwest room on the second floor, where Mrs. Borden was found. A piece of wood was taken from where Mr. Borden was murdered. This piece of wood had a spatter of blood on it. Officer John Riley arrived at the Borden house about 12:35 on August 4th. He saw Mr. Borden on the sofa and saw blood spots into the parlour. George Petty of 98 2nd Street said he went into the house with Dr. Bowen on his second visit. Mr. Borden had the appearance of having been killed but a short while, for the blood was fresh and flowing. I went upstairs, got down on some time, and told the doctor she must have been dead an hour. I further said, "This is where the trouble began. This is the starting point." The blood had ceased to flow. It was dark and covered with a kind of skin. The fact that there was
Let's
evidence
stop it
of
right
blood
here for a
spatter
second. Welcome in, Tar Heel. It's so good to see you, Mama. I know you've been busy with school and everything. I'm happy you're here. Tar Heel is kicking ass in college, and she's doing amazing. Kim, I'll send you Hate's number. So there was coagulated blood. Oh, hi, Colleen. It's good to see you, Mama. Welcome in to the Lizzie Borden stream. Oh, come on. Look at the cat, get out my glasses. Look at these things. Yeah, so there was coagulated blood. It wasn't even like blood flowing out of them. They had been dead for quite a while. There wasn't any more. Oh my God. Zoe is gonna hold on. I know you're little, but you ain't that little. This is Zoe, everybody. Oh, hold on. This is Zoe. Say hi. This is Zoe. She's violent. She's violent. And she tried to bite my lips off just earlier. Huh. Um So they have been dead for a while. What does that tell you? That they waited to call the police. They waited to get help until it was clear. Hi, Sarah Dawn. Good luck in your hockey tournament. I have all A's, but honey, but you're killing it. You're absolutely killing it. And you're going to graduate and you're going to be like, I did this. And you're going to feel so good. Yeah, she is a freshie. Just, I try to like love on her and she wants to bite and like attack my hands constantly. Good luck, Sarah. Oh, 2 Colleens in one chat. I know. Yes. Good luck, Tar Heel. All right, guys. So what does this tell you? This tells you that they waited and she got dressed and she is a fair little kitty. Look at her. She's lucky she's cute. A fair little kitty. Oh, yes, an all-star team. Go him. That's amazing, Sarah. That's amazing. Send all of our good juju to him for all of his games. Yeah, so she waited. She got dressed. She had to have hid her clothes or like someone said, she could have been naked. She could have been naked while all of this happened. Although that's a little weird to axe your dad. You're naked. I don't know. I have more questions about that. I don't know.
case that there must have been blood flying around the room when the murders took place, meaning the killer likely got some on themselves. Lizzie did not have blood on her except for a small dot of blood on her petticoat, which was underneath her dress. She said it was from a flea bite. Andrew was lying on the sofa with his coat under his head. It was his prized Prince Albert coat, and he hung it up whenever he came home. If he hung it up, how did it get beneath his head? He didn't need it as a pillow, as there was already a pillow on the sofa. A letter to a local newspaper dated June 16, 1893, signed Concord NH for Justice, suggests that the coat was used as an apron. If the murderer put the coat on backwards to cover their front, it would have given ample protection except for their head and hands. However, we do not know if Andrew Borden was wearing this coat that day.
What?
It's likely that he was, despite it being a warm
Drew
day,
K.
since he usually wore it, and men of that time would not be seen outside without a jacket and tie. If that's the case, then the murderer would have got blood on them when they killed Abby, since the coat was not there until Andrew came home. The coat was two people with a hatchet. Time to clean up.
It is
Maybe
impossible.
someone helped her clean up. F.L. Edson said, I went down cellar from the entry, went to the washroom in the southmost corner of the cellar. On a bench or table were a number of wet towels. There was blood on the towels. Officer Medley said he found blood in cloths which looked to me like small towels. They were covered with blood and in a pail half filled with water and in the wash cellar. She said that was all right. She had told the doctor all about that. I then asked her how long the pail and its contents had been there, and she said 3 or 4 days.
Ew.
I asked the doctor about it, and he said it had been explained to him and was all right. However, Bridget told the same officer that she had not noticed the pail until that day, and it couldn't have been there previously because she would have noticed and washed them along with other washing she had to do. Lizzie had told the doctor that these cloths were from her menstrual cycle. Lizzie's story could be true, since twisting that Bridget never noticed them before that day, and she would have washed with other garments. Police found 2 axes and 2 hatchets in the cellar of the Borden house.
I agree with that.
One of the hatchets and the 2 axes had
so many
been
questions.
used, and the blades were rough. But one of the hatchets was in good condition and quite sharp. It had some spots on the handle which police thought could have been dirt or blood, and the blade appeared to have been in water as if it had been cleaned. After testing, it turned out that the staining was not blood. None of the hatchets or axes found tested positive for blood. Another hatchet found had a missing handle. Officer Fleet discovered it in a box of...
Back in the late 1800s, they could test for blood. Who knew? Who knew? Not this girl. I didn't think that that came about for many, many years after this, but they could test for blood. They had luminol back then. Anyone else have questions? I have so many questions.
Tools in the cellar near the chimney. The handle had been broken off because the edges were within the last month. The hatchet was coated in ash as if it had been in a fire or had fallen into the ash pile. And Mr. Fleet noted that the other tools in the blade was rusty on being left outside all night or being submerged in water, perhaps to clean it. The ashes could have been used to make the blade seem old. But the reason the police thought this hatchet could have been the one used on Abby and Andrew is because the blade was 3.5 inches long. The wounds were between 2 inches and 4.5 inches, and according to Dr. Dolan, the medical examiner, the hatchet could have caused these wounds.
Something new every day.
If this was the hatchet used, it might have been stained with blood during the attacks, and that's why the handle was broken off. Wood absorbs, and water would not have removed the stains. But police testimonies contradict each other. The handle may not have been missing at all. During the trial, Officer Mullally testified that he saw a piece of the handle in the same toolbox. Do you know anything of what became of the box? No, sir. Nothing else was taken out of it while you were there? Nothing but the hatchet and parts of the handle? Well,
Amen.
Parts. That piece? That piece, yes. Well, that was in the eye, wasn't it? Yes, then there was another piece. Another piece of what? Handle. Where is it? I don't know. Don't you know where it is? No, sir. Was it a piece of that same handle? It was a piece that corresponded with that. The rest of the handle. It was a piece with a fresh break in it. The other piece? Yes, sir. Well, where is it? I don't know. Did you?
So wait a minute. I'm going to stop it right there for a second. So there was pieces of handle broke out. You have to, let's put this into some context here. To chop somebody's skull with an axe, YouTube is going to shadow ban me. Wouldn't that, first of all, that takes strength, and it's literally breaking apart a brand new axe. The handle is just can't even take the hitting, and it's breaking off. Do you know like people in the chat were just saying that is pure evil. That is pure hate for someone to do. Okay, someone had to have been angry. And I think that these girls were upset with Abby, the stepmother. I really truly believe that. I think that she was the motive and the catalyst to have this happen, and the father was just like collateral damage.
You see it after that? I did not. Was it a handle to a hatchet? It was what I call a hatchet handle. I want to know about how long it was. Well, I couldn't tell you how long it was.
This was in like 1892.
No, I understand, but I mean about, give your best judgment. I don't think it was as long as the handle in them hatchets there. Shorter than that? It was shorter than them, if I remember right. Well, did you take it out of the box?
I agree.
Did not. Did you see it taken out? I did.
I agree.
Who took it out? Mr. Fleet took it out. Mr. Fleet took it out. Yes, sir. You were there. I was there. Anybody else? Not as I know of. Did Mr. Fleet put that back too? He did. There is then some confusion amongst the lawyers. Mr. Robinson says to the opposing
100%.
counsel, have you that handle here, gentlemen? Mr. Knowlton, the DA, says, no. Mr. Robinson says, you haven't it in your possessions, may I ask? Mr. Knowlton says he never had it. Mr. Robinson then says, the government does not know where it is, and Mr. Knowlton says, I don't know where it is. This is the first time I ever heard of it. Officer Fleet was brought back to the stand, and he said that he did not see the handle in the box.
Hi, Rosie, babe.
So either one of them is lying, or has a terrible memory. But this hatchet may not have been the weapon anyway. It did not appear to be new, and upon inspection of Abby and Andrew's skulls, the impression was that the murder weapon was new due to evidence of a gilt coating found. Observations made by a Dr. Draper, who was assisted by Dr. Cheever, examined the skulls and wrote to Mr. Knowlton, the district attorney, on May 31st, 1893 about guilt. He said, the shining deposit can be seen with the naked eye. It is plainly visible with the use of a lens, when once its situation is indicated. So perhaps the handleless hatchet was not the one used in the attacks after all. Maybe the murder weapon was hidden or taken. Alfred A. Smith, a boy of 16 years old, made a state larceny to Officer C. Hammond of Philadelphia in the presence of Deputy Superintendent Charles Hart. Smith said, he passed the Borden house near the relative time and saw a pair of bloody gloves along with a hatchet outside the north side of the house near the vents, and he stole them. He washed the gloves and hatchet, hid them in his coat, then hid the hatchet in a barn.
Wait, what?
Later, he went back to Bowenville Barn about 10:55 p.m. and retrieved the hatchet. He said the edge of the hatchet was smooth, having no nicks on it, but in using it, I dulled it and nicked it very badly. I sold it to Thomas Connors, who keeps a little store near Fulton Street School. He gave me 10 cents worth of candy for it. He claims a woman from the house, with bangs on her forehead, saw him steal these items. If Smith is telling the truth, this could explain why the murder weapon wasn't found. Another reason could be because it was hiding in plain sight. About a year after the murders, a hatchet was found on the roof of the neighbor's barn, located to the rear of the Borden house. Lizzie could have simply climbed onto the pile of lumber that was there and thrown. Appeared to have gilt, some of the particles of rust being removed. A slight colouring of gilt was disclosed. Ornament, or was quite new when lost or discarded.
An
Perhaps
ornament?
Wasn't a hatchet
Wait,
at
we're
all.
stopping this. So they're saying that this was a decorative axe and it was never used, right? It was a decorative. And so they're saying, I mean, I hang out on the roof. I mean, that's like a favorite pastime of mine. When we were kids, we used to go up on the roof and, you know, um, so they're saying that this was a decorative axe. It was never used before for anything, and that she threw it up on my piercing in my ear is like killing me. Um, oh, Caden is still sleeping. We had our date night last night and we didn't get home till after 10 and then we were up pretty late. So the boy is still sleeping and he's like right there with my loud ass, just still sleeping. Any more decorative? I mean, yeah. Why wouldn't you? And like, these things, like you were just saying, like things aren't made like they used to be. This thing was like made correct. They came correct with the engineering of this axe. You just know it. Um, but you're gonna get your doggy soon. I'm so happy for you. I was gonna say proud of you, but I'm happy for you. All right.
All we really know is that it was a sharp, cutting object. It could have been a meat cleaver. Some even think it was a candlestick holder. On the day of the murders, Lizzie's demeanour and behaviour was known to several witnesses who saw her. Did she behave like an innocent person whose father and stepmother were just murdered? Or did she behave like a guilty person? When Dr. Bowen was first called to the house that morning, she wasn't in tears. He said Bridget seemed calm but uneasy and excited in action. After Abby's body was found, Charles Sawyer said Lizzie went into a swoon or a hysterical fit, and she laid down with wet towels on her forehead. After this, Officer Harrington spoke with Lizzie upstairs. He said Lizzie stood by the foot of the bed and talked in the most calm and collected manner. Her whole bearing was most remarkable under the circumstances. There was not the least indication of agitation, no sign of sorrow or grief, no lamentation of the heart, no comment on the horror of the crime, and no expression of a wish that the criminal be caught. All this and something that, to me, is indescribable, gave birth to a thought.
We're going to stop this again because I know how you guys love when I interrupt and just say shit. That's why we're all here, right? So they are saying that there was no like urgency to like find this killer, right? And if you ever know a lot of parents that have to do with their child's disappearance or something like that, it's said that when they do these like press interviews on TV, that they never like plead for their kid or for someone to bring them home or whatever. It's very evasive, vague. I love my child. I just want him home. Look at that lady who strapped her kids into the station wagon and drove it off a pier. What's her name? She has like all types of boyfriends and shit in prison. She's still there. I think she was like up for parole recently and they didn't let her out. Thank God, because she's a menace to society. When she was on the TV, she was saying that there was a black guy that hijacked her car and took the car and it ended up in the water. But in actuality, Susan Smith, Christine, this is what my work wife, kids. This is what she helps me out at work too. Yeah, Susan Smith. And she said there was a black guy that hijacked her car and blah, blah, blah. But in actuality, she drove strapped her kids into the car and did it because the guy she was cheating on her husband with said that he didn't want children. So she just like got rid of, yeah, thanks, Colleen. Too. This is why I love you guys chat. Oh, and Drew K came through. Thanks, guys. This is why we're a great team. Get out of here. Go. Yeah, she better never get out. But she was up for parole recently. Can you imagine? She's still a danger to society. I mean, they said that, she's too old to have kids right now. And like the kids that she did have, she disposed of. So, and if she does get out, there should be a stipulation that she's not allowed to be around children by herself. Ever. Yeah. All right, guys, let's continue. Oh yeah, right there. I put it up there. This picture right here, if you guys can see it, I don't know if I'm pointing at it correctly. Dog Mom and Knick Knack got this for me when I was going through the worst time of my life. And they had this picture done up for me and Caden, and it's us at Six Flags when we had, it was last October actually, this picture was taken, and they made a framed photo for me. So I put that up to display it. Okay, driving. So any good comments, read out loud. I got you, Colleen. I got you, girl. All right.
Thought that was most revolting. I thought, at least, she knew more than she wished to tell. Lizzie's friend Alice Russell described Lizzie that she wasn't affected. She was probably in shock, which is a state the body goes into after trauma to prevent you from shutting down. Shock conserves blood flow to the vital organs and is a natural defense response. It's therefore completely normal that Lizzie would seem calm under the circumstances, and her demeanour in no way proves she had anything to do with the murders. Additionally, once Lizzie had gone upstairs to her room on that day, Dr. Bowen gave her some bromo caffeine to calm her down. This would have contributed to her calm demeanour. The next day, Dr. Bowen gave Lizzie morphine, then doubled the dose the day after that, and continued to double dose her with morphine for the whole time she was jailed. This would have affected Lizzie's behaviour, mood, and memory, and contributed to some of her conflicting statements. Lizzie did, however, do something quite odd while she was on morphine. 3 days after
we're gonna go over
murders,
him one day
Alice
on a
Russell
Sunday.
went into the kitchen where Emma and Lizzie were. Lizzie was standing by the stove in the kitchen holding a light blue cotton dress. Emma asked Lizzie what she was going to do, and she replied that she was going to burn the dress because it was covered in paint. Alice left the room, and when she came back moments later, she saw Lizzie tearing up the dress. She said to Lizzie, "I would not do that where people can see you." Lizzie didn't respond, but the next day, when Alice spoke to her about it, Lizzie wondered why Alice had let her do it if it was such a bad thing to do. The police were confident that had the paint-covered dress existed in the house, they would have seen it, implying that the dress was actually covered in blood. What could have been her motive? It was common knowledge around Fall River that Lizzie and Emma did not get along that well with their stepmother, Abby. Accounts from witnesses on the day of the murders or just after confirm this. Mrs. Churchill, the neighbour, said, "The relations between Lizzie and the stepmother were not very friendly, but I have no personal knowledge of it. Yes, I have heard they do not at all times eat from the same table." Ellie M. Gifford of 38 Franklin Street said, "I know nothing personally of the domestic relations of the Borden family, but I have heard much rumour to the effect that they did not get along very pleasantly."
Okay, so this tells me that there is motive, right? There's motive to get rid of the father and the stepmother, Abby. Okay. There was a dress that was blood soaking that she was found that was burned on the stove. Oh, okay. So time out. We're gonna explain Chris Watts to our friend Rosie. Chris Watts was from Colorado, and he is in prison for killing his wife and two little children. He stuffed the two children in an oil tank on his job site. And was Shanann ever found? You know, she was in the house, right? She was in the house dead. I know that he strangled her and then got rid of the daughters too. I think there was 2 or 3 daughters too. But anyway, he confessed to the crime, and he confessed to the crime, and he is spending life in prison. He had a mistress. It was an oil drum. Okay, so she was in an oil. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jen, for the come through. That's why you guys are amazing. Oh yeah, and she was pregnant with the 3rd child. Yep. She was right. Yeah, so you're right. So the kids were in the oil drum, and she was found outside in like a shallow grave on his work site. And he had a girlfriend who I side eye. I don't know. I think she knows more than what she lets on to. And people are saying, is he supposed to be getting remarried to her? It's kind of like Drew Peterson. Who is Lacey Peterson's husband? Do you remember Lacey Peterson, pregnant wife, found dead? And he had a mistress as well. And like while they were doing the search party, he said to the mistress, Scott Peterson. He said to that he was in Paris on like a work thing, and he was actually doing the search party for his wife. He's up for parole, and he's looking to get a new. Yeah, he's trying to get out. Listen, people are Scott Peterson simps, and I'm not one of those people. I think that he did it. Does he deserve another? Yeah, total scumbag, wicked scumbag. Rosie, say it louder for the people in the back. They have new evidence. So to be fair, everybody deserves a fair trial and all the evidence to come in that could exonerate you. Do I think that he's guilty and that he did it? Yes, I do. But if there's evidence to say, put some reasonable doubt into a jury's mind, he deserves a fair trial, regardless of what I think that he did. I think it was him. Yeah. Thank you, Jen. Me and you right there, girlfriend. Right there. It will be interesting to find out if he gets out, but Chris Watts is never getting out. And apparently, like Luigi Mangione, the guy who killed the healthcare CEO, and Wade Wilson, they have a bunch of women that are obsessed with guys in prison, and they have women throwing themselves at them and money hand over fist and all that, because they're what society deems to be attractive, which I find bizarre. Do you know who else has fans? Brian Kohlberger has fans. The Innocent Project is trying to get, yeah, they are. They totally are. Chris should have gotten I totally agree with you. And he admitted it. He admitted what he did to his father in the interrogations, right, Jen? This is my Red Bull. It's the pink edition for October for breast cancer awareness. Ladies, get your titty squish. Mine tried to kill me. It's sugar-free and it is pink edition for October. Go get you one. It's really good. He did admit it. Yeah. Mangione asked for federal court to drop the murder. Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever seen Scott Peterson's Commissioner? Really? I have not. I'll have to look into it. Maybe we'll do another stream later like we did last week. And go over a different cases, because I have other cases I want to go over, kids. It's a different Innocence Project, not the original. Oh, okay. Is it the one that Kim Kardashian started? Because she started her own type of Innocence Project. I don't think Mangione did it, though. Really? Who do you think did it? Wait, are you talking about the Charlie Kirk killer? Because there's some people saying that the kid who is in prison and was arrested and admitted to the crime is not really the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk. Which I wanted to go over Charlie Kirk, but politics and YouTube usually don't go well together. I agree, Mama. Hi, Natalie. It's good to see you. I keep getting a random call from way too fast finding the person supposedly with a couple. Yeah, right. They were on a warpath to find out whoever did it. And the FBI director came way too soon. It was like, oh, we have somebody in custody. It wasn't the person that they currently have in custody. It was some crazy old man that fit the description of the guy jumping off the building. And now this kid, his parents made him turned in. They had them turn himself in, and now they're saying that it wasn't necessarily him. Nosa, really? Oh, that's interesting, Jen. I like that idea. See, this is why I love our chat. We can speculate and just say what's on our mind and what we think, right? I believe in fair trials. I believe that even if I think that Scott Peterson killed his wife and unborn child, does he deserve a fair trial? Yes, he does. And if there's evidence that could persuade a jury to say that he did not commit this crime, so be it, right? Were they pulling a Corey Richins and withholding this information? Did you see the latest video on the Charlie Kirk thing? You know, it was that, oh, yeah. I mean, I've been watching a lot of Candace Owens lately regarding the Kirk case. Very interesting. We love our Natalie. We love, yeah, Bella. What did Jen say? We all watched it, and I believe he was never shot and put into witness protection due to his political. I mean, he was kind of a shock jock, right? Like he was an influencer, and that was his claim to fame. He said what a lot of people liked and were thinking themselves, and he was not a liked individual. Should he have been more protected while he was up there? Like, you know, people always think it's not going to happen to me, and there it goes, happening more than ever, right? That creepy video of his wife over the cat. Yeah. 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 You can't fake that death in front of all those people. I mean, what does it say? The White House making October 4th. Oh, really? No, sir. He was an influencer. Like, not for nothing. I am like baby on YouTube. Like, I have all of you guys, and this is our little family. And I like not, but this guy had like shit ton of followers and had influence on a lot of people. CGL real. Oh shit. Hey. Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Candace Owens, and she has a lot of things to say. He voiced what most feel. Yeah, absolutely. He said it. A lot of, have you ever seen like people when they start talking shit and you're just like, wow, no one's ever said this before, like out loud. He was willing to say all the things out loud, and it pissed a lot of people off. Right. Right. They did not like his religious beliefs. Absolutely. I heard that his wife was pregnant as well. Was that true? Right. I agree. I agree. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you guys watch Candace Owens, I know we're getting off track, but my ADHD doesn't allow for anything else. I think he was shot. I'm just not convinced that it's the kid that they have in custody. How many phones are Yes. Yes. She's one of JFK's mods. Mhm. Absolutely. All right, let's get back to Lizzie Borden. We're almost there. We just sidetracked 17 times. It's cool. It's fine.
Mrs. Perry Gifford said, "We do sewing for the Borden family. I have heard Lizzie say harsh things of her stepmother. She said she did not and would not dine at the same table. She also said she was a horrid old thing. She was very pronounced and outspoken when referring to Mrs. Borden." Miss Ida Gray of number 27 Whipple Street said last Friday evening on August 5th, while in the horse car, two ladies were talking to Lizzie Borden. One remarked that Lizzie said, when referring to Mrs. Borden, that she was one of the kind that never dies. Hiram Harrington, Andrew's brother-in-law, was not at all protective of Lizzie. When questioned, he said, "When the perpetrator of this foul deed is found, it will be one of the household. I had a long talk with Lizzie yesterday, Thursday, the day of the murder.
What are you
and
sorry
I am not
for?
at all satisfied with statement or demeanor. She was too solicitous about his comfort and showed a side of character I never knew or even suspected her to possess. She helped him off with one coat and on with another. This is something she could not do it." Or Tripp, who had not seen them for 5 years, said she didn't think Lizzie was fond of Mrs. Borden, but not unfriendly. Lizzie apparently talked more to her than Emma did. Mrs. Jane Grey, Abby's stepmother, said, "Things were not as pleasant at the Borden house as they would have liked to. I told Mrs. Borden I would not change places with her for all her money." Mrs. Cyrus Tripp said, Lizzie told me she thought her stepmother was deceitful, being one thing to her face and another to her back. Lizzie told Mrs. Tripp that her stepmother claimed not to have any influence with her father, but Lizzie thought this was not true, or he never would have given Abby's half-sister such a large sum of money. Lizzie then said to Mrs. Tripp, I do not know that my sister or I would get anything in the event of my father's death. Dr. Bowen, on the other hand, described Lizzie and Abby's relationship as harmonious and perfect and natural. By all accounts, it appears that the relationship was not exactly the most friendly. Curiously, it seems that Lizzie spoke to Abby more than Emma did. Perhaps Emma disliked Abby
the communications
more than Lizzie.
department.
About 5 years before the murders, there was an incident regarding money that caused Lizzie to stop referring to Abby as mother and instead address her as Mrs. Borden. This change signals some hostility and an effort by Lizzie to keep things cordial but nothing more. Tensions rose when Andrew bought Abby's half-sister and her family a house, putting it in Abby's name. He did this because Abby's stepmother decided to sell the house they were all living in after the death of her husband. Abby and
I smell motive, kids. So they were actively trying to get rid of this house. And the girls were like, yeah, no, we're not doing that, Abby. Not today, Satan, not today. It's always about the money. Thank you. And Jen, I want to go to the Lizzie Borden house too. I think I'm going to go with Hippie Chick. I don't know if she's still here. And we're going to go do a tour. Yes. Yes. I would love that. Kimmy, Dog Mom is staying at the Lizzie Borden house this month. And maybe we'll have to get all the tea from her and see if any creepy shit happens. Yeah, hates the communication department. She's a talker. Yeah, there she is. This is Mama. All right, let's keep going. So there's motive. Abby was trying to get rid of their home.
Her sister were close, so Abby asked her husband to buy the house so that her sister and her family could remain in the home. But Lizzie and Emma were not happy with this and told their father that if he's going to buy a house for Abby's sister, he should do the same for his daughters. They said, what you've done for Abby's people, you should do for us. So Andrew, trying to keep the peace, gifted Lizzie and Emma the house on 12 out, and they become landlords, which would then bring in their own income. They got 2 tenants, but the house was so old that there were so many repairs to be done. The cost of these, plus taxes, meant that they received little income from the property. So they asked their father to buy the house from them. He did, and he gave them $5,000 for it, which was generous since the house was only worth $3,000. Despite this generous gift, Lizzie and Emma would ignore Abby's family whenever they passed them in the street. It seems that they didn't like the perceived preferential treatment that Abby got from Andrew. As mentioned, Lizzie was an animal lover, and the Bordens kept pigeons in the barn. She made a roost for them and would feed them, but they were attracting young kids into the barn and throw stones at them. So one day, Andrew killed the pigeons to stop the boys coming in. He removed their heads, either with his hands or with a hatchet, and brought them into the house for Bridget to pluck and cook. Lizzie asked, why are these heads off? Implying,
I'm going to put a poll up. Has anyone else ever plucked a pigeon to cook it? Plucked a pigeon from the barn. Kids, what is happening in Fall River? What is happening?
It's therefore likely that this event upset Lizzie and added to her resentment. But the biggest motive of all would have been inheritance. Andrew Borden was a wealthy man and had a fortune worth about $10 in today's money. With her inheritance, Lizzie could live in the coveted hill area with society's elite. She could live in a mansion and live a life she wanted, experiencing arts and culture and fine dining. She wouldn't have to be cooped up with her frugal father and evil Abby any longer. Lizzie and Emma was going to inherit his wealth, and then the money would be passed on to her family, and the sisters would get nothing. In order for Lizzie to inherit her father's fortune, she would have to kill Abby first. Lizzie certainly had the means, the motive, and the opportunity to kill Abby and Andrew. But did she? Did she act alone? Or did she have an accomplice?
I think the sister helped. She was the lookout.
It was just a possibility of what could have happened, not fact. Andrew leaves the house at 9 a.m. Lizzie gets some coffee and a molasses cookie.
Colleen.
Meanwhile, Bridget goes outside to vomit and then goes to the cellar to fetch her cleaning supplies. Abby asks Lizzie what she wants for dinner, but Lizzie says she's up for the pillowcases. She goes upstairs to finish. Bridget goes outside to start washing the windows and tells Lizzie that she does not need to lock the back door. Lizzie leaves the door unlocked and goes to the cellar to fetch the hatchet. She then goes up the front stairs to her bedroom where she changes into a light blue dress. Abby has just finished. She sees Lizzie coming towards her. Lizzie hits her face with the hatchet. Abby turns and falls.
Oh yeah, wait. Our friend Lizzie here was getting it in with the maid. I forgot about that. So we got the sister as a lookout. We got the maid as the accomplice, because I mean, to be a lesbian back in the day, it probably wasn't like, it was probably frowned upon, right? I love me some that. I'm not gonna say it. So I had like a basketball jersey on, sweatpants and sneakers last night. On by a woman. It was awesome. But yeah, so they were scissoring, Lizzie and the maid. So that was probably frowned upon. She's a maid. She herself is an old maid at 32, not married back in the 1800s when people got married like 14, right? And so she had the sister that definitely knew about it because she helped her after the fact, accessory after. And then the girlfriend. I wonder if Abby found out. I wonder.
She's satisfied that Abby is dead. Lizzie then goes to her bedroom once again and takes off the bloody dress. She hides it well and puts on the dress she was wearing before. She takes the hatchet downstairs to the cellar and washes it. She hides the hatchet somewhere. Lizzie gets some towels to wipe her face and skin clean, then takes them down to the cellar where she puts them in a pail of water. She goes back upstairs to her bedroom and waits for her father to come home. When Andrew arrives home, Lizzie comes out of her room and laughs when she sees Bridget struggle to open the door. Andrew comes in and goes to the dining room. Bridget washes the windows in the sitting room, and Lizzie comes downstairs, goes through the sitting room to the dining room, and asks her father if she has any mail. Andrew goes to the kitchen, up the back stairs, and to his bedroom for 5 minutes. During this time, Bridget washes the windows in the dining room, and Lizzie asks her if she's going out. Bridget says no. Andrew comes back downstairs and goes to the sitting room, and Bridget puts her cleaning supplies away. She then goes upstairs to lie down. Andrew had taken off his coat and hooked it in the dining room as he always did. Lizzie goes down to the cellar, retrieves the hatchet, and goes back to the dining room where she puts her father's coat on backwards to cover her front. She goes into the sitting room and stands the coat over and behind him.
Okay, so maybe Kim, maybe that's like true. So she basically, what did she do? Okay, so the father took his coat, hung it on the back of the chair. She grabbed said coat and put it on like she was going into surgery. The bunny suits. And but where'd the dad's jacket go? Wouldn't it be covered in blood? Was she naked from the basement getting the hatchet and put the coat on to cover her kibbles and bits? And yeah, hi Nick Nack. Yeah, can everybody like the video? If you're over on X, come over to YouTube, Unsolved Amy Boston, subscribe and like the video, and we always have a really good time over here. So if you're on X or if you're hate watching, hi, and like the video. Thanks for the engagement. I grew up poor, so I had oh my god. Hippie is Dylan go? Oh, I would love to. I'm gonna see Dylan when he comes. He's coming soon. I think your hippie chick's coming at like the same time. So there's all types of things happening at the Borden house that is different. Is different.
Hatchet. It's done. She takes off the coat and bundles it next to Andrew's head. She goes back to the cellar, washes the hatchet and her hands. She goes back upstairs and outside, where she climbs on top of the lumber and throws the hatchet on the neighbor's roof. She goes back inside and calls out to Bridget that someone came in and killed her father. Another scenario could be that Lizzie and Bridget worked together. Perhaps Lizzie was always going to be the one to do the deed, but Bridget may have known what Lizzie was doing. Perhaps she didn't go upstairs to lie down
I
while
believe
Lizzie killed her
that.
father. Maybe she was
She
keeping
had
guard to
no.
make sure nobody came to the house. Perhaps she was the one who disposed of the hatchet. Perhaps she made sure that Lizzie was cleaned from blood and put the cloths in the pail. It is possible that Bridget knew more than she let on. On her deathbed, she confessed to a friend that she helped Lizzie out at the trial, but there are no specific details as to what she meant. Quickly after the murders, Lizzie's lawyer paid for Bridget to go to Ireland. At some point, Bridget received a large sum of $1,000, which is about $28,000 today. She claimed that her grandfather had died and left money to her, but no such grandfather has ever been found. Some speculate that this money was a payoff from Lizzie to keep her mouth shut. Bridget would eventually move back to the US to Montana and marry a man named John Sullivan. Another scenario is Emma conspired to kill Abby and Andrew as well, but she didn't want to be the one to do it and didn't want to be around when it happened, so she stayed with friends in Fairhaven where she would have an alibi. But why would Emma, who promised their dying mother that she would always take care of Lizzie, let Lizzie be the one to do the killing? Well, it could simply be a matter of personality. Emma was quiet and sensitive, whereas Lizzie was far more outspoken, strong-willed, and probably had the confidence needed to carry out such murders. There is some speculation.
God, you were? Oh my God. I'm going to go live later on, maybe around 4 o'clock. Would you want to come up and talk about it? I can send you a link, my love. I would love to hear all about it. I want footage. Yeah. Yeah. So whatever. Wait, okay. Before we continue, does anyone know what happened with Lizzie Borden after everything was said and done? Like, did she end up, shacking up with the maid? The Scissor Sisters? Is that what happened? Yeah, it's always good to see Scott McGinnis in chat. I would love to have you come up. That would be amazing. We're going to go live today at 4 and go over some other true crime cases. And we can talk about that too, Scott. That dress look like she can't breathe in it. Yeah, it's a corset. And the shoulder pads, like, I'm a big girl. Under no circumstances do I ever need shoulder pads. Yes. She bought the house and became recluse. Interesting. Everyone's saying, hey, Scott. All right, let's keep going, kids. Oh, shit. Sorry.
Knowledge of it. Yes, I have heard they do not at all times eat from the same table. Ellie M. Gifford of 38 Franklin Street said, I know nothing personally of the domestic relations of the Borden family, but I have heard much rumour to the effect that they did not get along very pleasantly. Mrs. Perry Gifford's bill, called a postal, then walked a mile and a quarter to Weybosset Street, arriving at about 9:40 a.m. It's possible he returned to the house shortly after leaving and killed Abby. Perhaps Lizzie let him inside. It seems unlikely that John could have killed Andrew because he took a streetcar back to the Borden house after visiting the Emerys. John's lawyer said that John had remembered the car and conductor's numbers, which is a specific detail to remember. Perhaps John is innocent and was just an observant man and paid attention to details. Or perhaps he had conspired with Lizzie and knew he needed an airtight alibi, so he remembered the numbers on purpose. The Evening Standard on the 6th of August 1892 reported, returning, Morse took a streetcar.
Oh my God. Will you please, if you're available and you want to come up and talk about it, I want to know all the things because all cases need exposure. And if you're willing to come up and tell us your experience, please do. 4 o'clock, I'll be here.
Which 6 priests were passengers, 3 of whom sat on the seat with him. He left the car at the corner of Pleasant and 2nd Streets and walked direct to Mr. Borden's residence. The conductor of the car yesterday was a spare named Whitaker, and the news had been unable to find him today. Very sad. He would probably remember the circumstance of the 6 priests and Mr. Morse's riding with him. Mr. Morse's story has, however, been confirmed, so far as the priests being on the car is concerned, by conductor Kennedy of the car going east, who says he passed the car with the priests on the hill, about where Mr. Morse took the car, and that he took its time and it was just 22 minutes after 11 o'clock. It doesn't make much sense that John would kill Abby, then let Lizzie kill Andrew while he went to the Emerys. Why go to the Emerys at all if they weren't expecting him? It's possible he thought it would make a good alibi, and it's possible he convinced Mrs. Emery to lie for him and tell the police he was there from 9:40 a.m. Perhaps some
Yeah.
hush money was involved. But there is still the question of the blood. What would John have used to cover himself, or how did he avoid getting blood on his clothes? There was barely enough time for John to kill Abby, wait for Andrew to arrive, kill him, and make an appearance at the Emerys on Way-Bossett Street, only to arrive back at the Bordens just 40 minutes later. The Emerys' house was a 28-minute walk away. He would have arrived at about 11:30 a.m. and immediately turned back, taking the streetcar, which would have cut his journey time.
Scott, that's no problem. You go and have yourself a time and enjoy yourself and all the things. I'm happy that you came here. And anytime you want to come up and talk about it and your experience, you have an open invitation here, and you already know that. So we love you. Have a good time at your wedding.
In half. It's an incredibly tight timeline. And to make it work, he would not have had time to clean himself up. Perhaps he put on Andrew's coat to cover his suit, but it seems unlikely that not a single drop of blood would appear on him. He did not have any spare clothes with him. So perhaps John did not commit the murders himself, but helped Lizzie and Emma plan them. Maybe he brought a new hatchet with him. Maybe he took it away with him afterwards. But what would be John's motive? He did not benefit from Andrew's fortune, so money wasn't in it for him. If John knew the murders were going to happen, but wanted an alibi, it would have been much easier to just stay put at home. Why place yourself at the crime scene? Nevertheless, many people are suspicious of John Morse. It does seem odd that he would arrive at the house the night before the murders, but it could just be a coincidence. Another character that is a little suspect is Dr. Bowen. He is the first person that Lizzie asks Bridget to fetch, but this could be because he lived close by and he was familiar with the Bordens. When Dr. Bowen arrived, he first saw Andrew and took his pulse. He knew he was dead. However, when Abby is found, Dr. Bowen's first thought is that she died by fright after seeing her husband. Yet Abby's blood was pooling around her head. So why did he think she had simply fainted? At the inquest, Dr. Bowen said that she had died by fright, but then he soon realised she too was murdered after seeing the blood. But that's not what happened according to the police. In the initial witness statements from the day of the murders, at 11:35 a.m, Officer Doherty arrived and Dr. Bowen told him that Andrew was dead. According to Officer Doherty, this is what happened. Dr. Bowen said, "Mr. Borden is dead," covered with a sheet. In low tones, the doctor told me he was satisfied there was something wrong, for they were all sick the day before. He followed this by saying, "To make matters worse, Mrs. Borden is lying dead upstairs. I suppose she saw the killing of her husband and ran upstairs and died with fright. I requested to see her, and on going upstairs found her lying on the floor face downward between the bed and dressing case. Several spots of blood was on the bed and also a large tuft of hair. On examining the body, I found she was lying in a pool of blood. I informed the doctor of the fact, and he expressed much surprise. Was he feigning ignorance to do with it?
Wait a minute.
If the officer's account is true.
So the medical examiner was examining Abby's body, and she was hacked up with a hatchet, with an axe, and hit 19 times over the skull. And he didn't know that she was murdered? Does that make sense to you? Sometimes we all need a great... Yes, absolutely, Jen. Absolutely. Yeah, right. Yeah, so are you guys side-eyeing the fact that like the medical examiner was like, I don't know. Oh, people are judging me because I don't know the Lizzie Borden song. I know Bloody Mary. Do you guys remember being in the mirror when you were younger and doing the Bloody Mary to see if she would come and being scared shitless? Because I remember that. I remember doing that. Yeah. You dropped it above. Hold on. I don't see anything. You're killing me. Yeah. Bloody Mary. I remember that. Come on. Crazy. All right, let's keep going. I'll try to find the song. I'll try to find it. I'll do it.
True. It means that Dr. Bowen changed his story to say that he realized Abby had been murdered as soon as he saw her. Officer Doherty also observed Dr. Bowen acting strange in the kitchen. The officer said, "I went down in the kitchen, where Dr. Bowen, Assistant Fleet, Dr. Dolan, Bridget, and several others were. Dr. Bowen had scraps of paper in his hand, on which there was some writing. He and I spoke about them,
Hi,
and he
Mary.
tried to put some of them together. He said, 'It is nothing. It is something about, I think, my daughter going through somewhere.' If I recollect correctly, it was addressed to Emma, but about that I am not sure." The doctor then said, "It does not amount to anything," and taking the lid off the kitchen stove, he dropped the pieces in. There was very little fire in the stove.
That's it, Chris.
And the ashes, which were on top, looked as though paper had burned there. According to one anonymous witness, they saw Dr. Bowen on the day of the murders riding his horse and cart so fast that I thought at the time someone was dying. I am well acquainted with him, but I never saw him look so wild, reins with both hands, driving for dear life. Has Dr. Bowen ever been questioned where he was on the morning of the murder? This is the truth and nothing but the truth. Jane Grey, Abby's stepmother, said that Dr. Bowen accompanied Lizzie to her church and he was married, so why would he go to this particular church with a single woman? This sort of act was considered scandalous at the time, but Jane Grey and Lizzie were not exactly fond of each other, and this story could just be embellished gossip.
Well, she was banging.
On the other hand,
the maid,
perhaps Dr. Bowen and Lizzie had an affair. Richard Powers, a retired state prison guard and Maryland historian, posed the theory that Dr. Bowen, who lived across the street, killed Andrew and Abby Borden and removed the murder weapon in his doctor's bag. Powers suggested that there were ill feelings between the doctor and the Bordens. But there is no real evidence that Dr. Bowen was involved either with Lizzie or the murders. He did not benefit financially from the murders, and after they happened, he dropped off the face of the earth. We don't know what happened to him or where he went. It's possible that someone not in the family killed the Bordens. They may have slipped in the unlocked side door when Bridget went to the barn to get water and when Lizzie was in the dining room ironing. They went up the front stairs to the guest room and killed Abby. They hid until Andrew arrived home, then slid to the sitting room while Bridget was washing the windows in the dining room and Lizzie was out in the barn. But this seems unlikely because Bridget surely would have heard something going on in the next room. But say it did happen, who could it have been? There are many potential suspects because Andrew was not exactly a well-liked man around town. But if he was the target, why kill Abby? Maybe she saw the attacker, and in surprise at being seen, they killed her too. But it was a big risk to carry out these murders when both Bridget and Lizzie were home. But perhaps they did this on purpose, because they knew that the people in the house would likely be blamed. So if not Lizzie, Bridget, or John Morse, who could it have been? Hiram Harrington was married to Andrew's sister, making him Andrew's brother-in-law. Hiram was the only person Lizzie ever publicly mentioned had beef with her father, but there is no evidence he was involved. But he does heavily imply that the person responsible lived in the Borden house. In the August 6th edition of the Fall River Daily Herald, Hiram tells the reporter, "When the perpetrator of this foul deed is found, it will be one of the household. I had a long talk with Lizzie yesterday, Thursday, the day of the murder, and I am not at all satisfied with statement or demeanor. She was too solicitous about his comfort and showed a side of character I never knew or even suspected her to possess." When asked what the motive could have been, Hiram replied, "Money."
Well, okay, so let's give old Lizzie the benefit of the doubt and say that she didn't do it. Just because her demeanor was whacked out, I mean, her parents just got hacked up with a hatchet. I would expect anybody to act out of character. I think she did it. I think that her sister and the girlfriend maid were all in cahoots and made this happen. And I don't think she liked Abby. I think that they were abused it's kind of like the Cinderella thing, right? Like the stepmom, the bitchy stepmom. What does Wayne say? Coroners back then were appointed sheriffs or just lay people, absolutely no training. Right. That still happens. That still happens in Idaho. They don't actually have a doctor, a medical examiner. They have people appointed. The one that was the coroner in Idaho for the Vallow trials was not a doctor. She was an RN and appointed as the medical examiner. So she was not qualified, in my opinion. Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. Then she saw what she had done and gave her father 41. Oh, is that it? You're so funny. I just said it. I don't know how to sing it. I don't know the tune. But that's it. Yeah, sorry. You know what's so funny? I've read every time that you said it, and I'm like, oh, God, just bring me out back. What is happening?
Questionably money. Regarding Hiram and Andrew's relationship, Hiram's inquest testimony went like this. You and he did not speak. You and he were unfriendly. You and he were not on good terms. We never had no words or anything of that kind. Some years ago I thought he was hard, and I cut his acquaintance. That is, he came to my house, and I would leave the room. And he very soon saw I cut his acquaintance, and he did mine. There is not enough evidence or information to suggest that Hiram wanted Andrew dead. While some may argue that Hiram would have wanted some of Andrew's wealth to transfer to his sister, Hiram's wife, it must have been known to Hiram that Andrew's wealth would pass to his children, Lizzie and Emma, if him and Abby died. Unless, of course, he was misguided and believed his wife would inherit something. Joe Carpenter initially emerged as a prime suspect in the murder case of Andrew and Abby Borden. However,
You're trying to tell me that they thought, can you guys see my mouse? They thought that this wasn't personal, that Christine's wicked crafty. She makes the most beautiful one of a kind cards, and my mother actually has a whole box of them and like uses them for every every season of everything. My daughter threw me out so she could watch Dexter. I like Dexter. Dexter's a good show. But yeah, so they thought that this was an accident. I don't know. I have so many. It's personal AF. You are so right. This was not. And I people think that it was the uncle. How many people, if you think that it was the uncle or someone other than Lizzie Borden who killed these two, put a 1 in the chat. If you think it was Lizzie Borden, put a 2.
As a bookkeeper for Borden and Olney, Carpenter faced accusations of embezzling a substantial sum during
my
the
favorite
late
number.
1800s. Although he was arrested, the charges were quietly dismissed. Carpenter paid Andrew back some of the stolen money, but much of it was paid back in mill stock, which eventually became worthless. At this point, it's speculated that Andrew wanted Carpenter arrested, but Carpenter threatened to expose Andrew's dishonest business practices. As such, Carpenter moved out to Fall River without paying back Borden the full amount he owed. After the murders, witnesses came forward suggesting that Carpenter was in Fall River at the time of the murders. Peter Driscoll, a local barber, said that he had shaved Carpenter on August the 1st, and a schoolteacher named Dean said
Colleen.
that Carpenter was in Fall River on August the 4th and left the next day with his wife for Albany. A letter surfaced, which was mailed to Carpenter from Fall River on June 22, 1893, from his wife. The letter read, "My dear husband, Lizzie has been acquitted, and I don't think they can do anything with you now. I want you to come home to spend the 4th. The papers give a description of the man seen over the fence on the morning of the murder. Can you prove to have had a grudge against Andrew Borden? And the letter from his wife is odd. Mrs. Victoria Foreman, Carpenter's landlady, said to the best of her knowledge, Carpenter stayed in her rooming house every night between July 18th and August 13th. Once police spoke to the landlady, they dropped Carpenter as a suspect. There are other suspects as well. They also thought that the murders could have been related to the break-in at the Bordens the previous year. They were robbed of $100 in cash and several horse car tickets which belonged to Andrew, and several pieces of jewelry, including a watch that belonged to Ab, that the thief was Lizzie. Andrew called off the investigation, possibly hinting that he too believed the culprit was his own daughter. Later, police would question people in Fall River giving out horse cart tickets which didn't belong to them. When asked how they got the tickets, they said Lizzie Borden gave them to them. There are also
What?
rumours that Lizzie was a shoplifter, and if she was caught, the items stolen would be
Oh,
billed to her
she's a
father who would pay up.
shoplifter.
But there is no real proof that Lizzie was a thief. It's possible that Lizzie wasn't responsible for either, but really did think the robbery and murders could be related. It's also possible that she was responsible for both, or one or the other. Another potential suspect is the strange man that Dr. Handy had seen. Dr. Handy and his wife were close with the Bordens. Lizzie would vacation in Marion at Dr. Handy's house to spend time with his daughter and other friends. She was to stay there with around 12 other women and girls during her upcoming fishing trip on the 8th of August. Dr. Handy's wife Susan was also fond of Lizzie. She is quoted in the Fall River Evening News as saying, "I have been a frequent visitor at the Borden home during the last 15 years, and I never saw anybody more kind both to Mr. and Mrs. Borden than Lizzie and Emma." At the trial, Dr. Handy said,
right?
"I went by the Borden house on the morning of the murders at 9 o'clock.
I'm just gonna say this. Is anyone else like this woman has an English accent? And I think it would have like packed a better punch if they did it in like a Fall River accent. What do you think? I think they should have done like a more local accent for someone to narrate. That's just my opinion.
And again, a little after 10:30, saw a medium-sized young man of very pale complexion with his eyes fixed on the sidewalk. He was passing slowly towards the south. He was paler than common and acting strangely. He was walking very slowly, scarcely moving. He was agitated or weak, staggering or confused, or something of the kind. Did not appear intoxicated, seemed mentally agitated, showed this by an intense expression of his face. I think I had seen him on some previous day. He did not stagger."
Me too.
Dr.
Wait.
Handy was not the only person to see a strange man that morning. Police officer Hyde also saw a strange man in the vicinity of 2nd Street on the morning of the murders. Unfortunately, the man was never found and questioned. Who do you think was responsible for the murders of Andrew and Abby Borden? Leave a comment below. Lizzie was arrested and charged with the murders. After almost a year in jail, her trial commenced in the summer of 1893. She was still taking morphine at the time, which may have affected her. The real skulls of Andrew and Abby were presented in court, which caused Lizzie to faint. But her defense successfully
You imagine
fought the
they
prosecution's
brought
case,
their
noting the
skull.
lack of physical
Let me
evidence
pause this.
linking Lizzie to the murders.
You guys,
They
literally brought Abby and Andrew's skulls. The beat up, broken skulls, and put them in as evidence at the trial. Can you imagine? And our friend Lizzie here fainted of horror. Horror. But like, and the thing is too, is like, I think that she did it. I think that she did. Everyone's welcome to their opinion. I know that there's like different scenarios that could be. We don't know. She was acquitted. However, I think that she did it. So you can actually do the slaying of the parents and have all that force and evilness and all that evil pent up aggression toward these two. You can do that, but you drop at the sight of the skulls. Come on. Come on.
also played the gender card and argued that a woman could not have committed such a heinous and brutal act. It seemed the all-male jury agreed with this sentiment, and after a very short deliberation, they came back with a not guilty verdict. Lizzie was free to go and received half of her father's estate. Once free, Lizzie was shunned by the locals, but she decided to stay in Fall River anyway. She and Emma bought a mansion called Maplecroft on the hill, just as Lizzie always wanted. She and Emma lived together there for many years, enjoying the high life with servants and all modern conveniences. They also built a monument upon Andrew and Abby's graves. But one day, Emma left and the sisters stopped talking. Nobody knows what happened and what caused Emma to stop speaking to Lizzie.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, it must have been big, because Emma and Lizzie had always been close. Some people speculate that it could have been Lizzie's lifestyle that turned Emma off. Engaging in frequent travels to New York, Boston, DC, and various other destinations, Lizzie indulged in shopping and attended shows. Additionally, she hosted extravagant parties at Maplecroft for her newfound friends. One notable acquaintance was Nance O'Neill, an actress.
So wait, does anybody know, was there like insurance policies back then? And when Abby and Andrew were killed, do you guys know if how they were able to buy the mansion on the hill, did they get insurance money or did they get money from them dying? Is that how they got their wealth? Because they didn't work or anything, and they must have sold the house that was in their name from killing Andrew and Abby. Does anybody know if there was insurance policies and that's how they got their money? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know. I want to know all the things, always. We're almost done with this.
Lizzie met Nance in Boston around 1904, and their bond quickly deepened. Lizzie showered her with attention, giving rise to rumours about a possible romantic involvement, though neither woman addressed the speculations. Some accused Nance of leveraging Lizzie's generosity and financial support. Emma supposedly grew frustrated and moved out of Maplecroft in 1905. Later, she told a Boston newspaper, "The happenings at the French Street house that caused me to leave, I must refuse to talk about. I did not go until conditions became absolutely unbearable." Despite Nance's friendship with Lizzie lasting only a few years, the estrangement between Lizzie and her sister endured for the rest of their lives. Lizzie changed her name to Elizabeth and lived in solitude with her dogs in her mansion until her death. She never married, never had any children, but local children would throw objects at her house. They regularly pranked her, and her church-going friends had long abandoned her. In 1897, Lizzie would make headlines once again when she was accused of shoplifting in Rhode Island, but she was not charged. Lizzie passed away in June 1927 at the age of 66. On 2nd Street has been transformed into a popular bed and breakfast. Many hoping they will reveal who killed them.
Oh, and we are done. So what do you guys all think? Do you think that Lizzie Borden did it, or do you think that it was the uncle? I think Lizzie Borden, the sister, and the girlfriend, the scissor sister, I think they were all in cahoots. And how they got all this money. If Dog Mom just said that life insurance started in 1706, so clearly they got insurance money. She was able to get it because she was not found guilty of the crime, and they live in the life of luxury. It seems they had servants. They lived up on the hill where they were. So she got everything that she wanted and was acquitted, right? But if there's not enough evidence to say that she did it, I would rather a person that's guilty be out than someone who is innocent be locked up. That's how I look at it. What does it say, Rosie? I caught the woman voice saying my daughter was, yeah, right. I mean, that will pent up a lot of fucking aggression towards somebody if they're hurting her. And who knows, maybe the stepmom, maybe Abby knew what was going on, because I think they said that Lizzie Borden was 2 when her mother died, and then she's with Andrew and Abby. He got remarried, and she was probably abused by Abby too, because Abby was jealous of her. Who knows? How many times have you heard that story? I saw it years ago. They filmed it live during a room there. The table lifts up. Like, can you imagine? I believe in that shit. I believe all that stuff happens. Oh my God. Kids, we are 2 weeks down for our Sunday morning coffee time true crime with me. And if there are any suggestions on what we should do next Sunday for our spooky themed, I was thinking about doing the state hospitals, the asylums. There's a ton of them in Massachusetts. I actually live very close to one of them, which is like super known to be creepy and all the things. And there's some around the country that we could also look at. We don't just have to look at Massachusetts, even though a lot of my viewers are from Massachusetts. So it's cool to see places that you've been to or heard about or whatever. So I'm going to do a community post on YouTube. If you have any suggestions on things that we should do for spooky season, we have 2 more Sundays left. And if you have not liked the video, please like the video and make sure you're subscribed. YouTube pulls bullshit and unsubscribes people. So make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications on. I do go live during the week. Yeah, Danvers Hospital. Danvers, there's Medfield State Hospital. There's Bridgewater State Hospital that is still up and running. They have the criminally insane. So I think maybe we'll do that for next week. I think it'll be really cool to go over the state hospitals and their history because it is fucking crazy. The one near me started shutting down before it was actually shutting down, and there was no workers, and all these crazy people were just walking around like nothing happened off the property. There's a bunch of people, lunatics just walking around the town. It's wild. So, well, maybe we'll do that. Actually, we will do that. We're going to do state hospitals. Does not have to be from Massachusetts, but I will pull a bunch of stuff together and we will go over it together for our spooky season series. And I will be back on later, maybe around 4:30, and we will go over some cases that we haven't before. I have a video of a bunch of missing persons right now, and there is a young Amish boy who is going to be on trial for unaliving a community woman. Also, Taylor Shabusiness is back in court. She wants to be unshackled for her up and coming. Oh, Kung Fu Panda's awake. Thank you. All right, guys. Kung Fu Panda's awake. That is my exit. I will be back here at 4 o'clock. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.